don't have a bucket list anymore. My life is in order, I have a sense of purpose, and I'm definitely not a smiling Sisyphus. Sure, I would still love to do a bunch of things, but I'm no longer driven to fulfill a desire or to prove myself. I have figured out my path to personal eudaimonia. Yes, that one, Aristotle's and Plato's eudaimonia. Being a decent person, embracing reason, and achieving authentic self-realization. I hope people see me as a good guy, or, as I like to put it a bit more romantically, an agent of good. Capital G. I had loving parents who, under difficult circumstances, sacrificed a lot and worked hard to give me a good chance to succeed in life. And it's not just my parents, it's my extended family, the community around me, teachers. A lot of good people reached out to me, and for this, I'm forever grateful. This is not gonna change. Ever since I've known myself, I worked, and it's not just the work that I chose or I liked, but the work I did for others, unpleasant chores included. My father moved mountains, and I know that I have to push things up, otherwise they fall down. This understanding and acceptance will never change. Discovering order in creation is an awesome experience. Nature is more than the sum of its parts. Then there is the beauty people create. Order is beautiful, and I believe that the contemplation of beauty makes people better. Seeking the transformative power of beauty is another constant in my life. I cannot imagine myself as an outsider. I want to be a contributing member of the human community. Sure, it feels good to be loved and social strokes energize me. But I also believe that it is our responsibility to cooperate, work together, and give back. It's not gonna change. I fell in love with a girl when I was 8 years old. This attraction was pure and powerful. I'd say this girl made a huge impression on me. In my teenage years, everything pointed in one direction. I wanted to find a woman who is going to be my friend, lover, wife, and soulmate forever. I knew that married life and starting a family was my path. I'm still on this path, and it's not gonna change either. Back then, I met a self-appointed philosopher, a king of philosophers. It was in a debate club. He was one of those annoying, well-versed debaters who had a bulletproof counter-argument for anything that came up. Most of the arguments with him fell apart at the definitions stage, so any subsequent discussion was basically pointless. He grinned and concluded the evening with this: "You see, it's impossible to agree on anything." I felt sorry for him. I know that these guys can poke holes into my philosophy of life and reduce me to a naive dilettante. I choose to adhere to ideas that allow me to live a well-rounded and fulfilling human life. A couple of years ago, I fell off a rock wall. Miraculously, I survived the accident and fully recovered. For some people, it's about the odds, like you beat the odds, you were simply lucky. I prefer a more poetic expression. God saved me so that I could continue my mission. The agent of good kind of work. In my fertile imagination, God is not dead. Poetry is not my enemy. Nihil is my enemy. It was the Beatles that started the Indian craze. Sitar music of Ravi Shankar, philosophy, spiritualism, transcendental meditation, yoga, and Indian exotica were cool. As a curious teenager, I finally laid my hands on the Kama Sutra. I remember reading it ever faster and with growing frustration. When do I get to the good part? The never-ending lists of unrelatable categorizations, bizarre observations, and dated concepts were a bit too much for me. Things like never hang out with a woman who has an ill-sounding name or a projecting forehead. A woman, according to the size of her vagina, is classified as a female deer, a mare, or a female elephant. And what's the deal with the hairman who has a small lingam? People who are in love with the book overlook the prejudiced, misogynistic, patriarchal, and badly antiquated content. However, in spite of the ridiculous details, the text has many good ideas and valid points about pursuing a virtuous and moral living, self-knowledge, and spiritual liberation. Unselfish love in sexual intimacy should be mutually pleasurable for both partners. I couldn't agree more. It's the prescriptive and didactic textbook tone that turns me off. This is how things are. These are the rules to follow. This is ancient wisdom carved in stone for you. The weight of Kama Sutra's overbearing orthodoxy doesn't leave wiggle room for individual freedom. Michel Foucault could be easily labeled and dismissed as a philosopher who used his sharp intellect to justify his perversions. For some of his admirers, he is a founding father of wokeism. For his critics, he is the patron saint of child indoctrination. I want to be fair to him. Just like Nietzsche cannot be blamed for the Nazis using and distorting some of his ideas, Foucault is not responsible for crazy progressive things 40 years after his death. Many of his observations are dead on, and he challenges us to think. In his 4-volume work, The History of Sexuality, he sets up the postmodern ideological framework of fight for gender equality, social justice, and dismantling harmful stereotypes. Foucault questions our collective belief in objective reality and reduces everything to power. Power, according to him, is not held by a person or an institution, but rather it is a dynamic interplay between forces that modifies the actions of others. Power creates norms that define what is considered normal, acceptable, or deviant. This conception was used by his followers to dismantle the validity of everything from biological sex to the scientific method. Well, I think universal physical and biological realities objectively exist. Question: is it really power that moves the world? Because I can think of better things. I have made a good effort to get to know myself. I know what defines me and drives me. My identity is what's in my soul. I just explained it after the intro. Foucault thinks a person's identity, the deepest, inviolable me, is produced by confessing our deepest desires. The discourse on sexuality leads individuals to see their sexuality as an essential, deep-seated part of their identity, the truth of who we are. We demand that sex speak the truth, and we demand that it tell us our truth, or rather the deeply buried truth about ourselves. This is why Foucault concludes that we became a confessing society. He is right. We love a good coming out story.
We're not doing community theater, Randy. We're consenting adults. And what we do in the privacy of our own home is fine, Mr. Leahy.
Randy, please.
And I don't care. I don't care if the whole world knows that we like to get dressed up. We like to have some fun. And that we're a couple. Hey, everybody. We're gay.
What?
Say it, Mr. Leahy. It feels great.
Sex is all over us now. It's been commodified and it is boldly pushed in our faces. Sadly, a lot of women objectify and exhibit themselves believing that their sexual marketplace value is the best representation of their identity. I don't think that sex is a social construct. I don't think sexuality is something that we ourselves create by talking about it all the time. And I don't think that it is, or it should be, the dominant part of our identity. When I married my wife, I wasn't under any pressure to conform with social norms. I elegantly discarded some old-fashioned rules, adopted some new ideas, and I chose to adhere to the true and tested values that I got from my family. I took my marital vow seriously, and thank God I didn't need to reinvent the wheel because what was handed down to me essentially worked. Now, Foucault has a problem. He's different. So he writes, we have to understand that with our desires go new forms of relationships, new forms of love, new forms of creation. Sex is not what we are stuck with. It's a possibility for creative life. It's not enough to affirm that we are gay, but we must also create a gay life. Then he turns to ancient Greece for inspiration. Christianity, of course, associated sex with evil, sin, the fall, and death, whereas antiquity invested it with positive symbolic values. Now, ancient Greece was a male-dominated, militarized society where soldiers were away from women for years and years. It made sense to be sexually, how do I put it gingerly? It made sense to be sexually versatile. Pederasts, older male lovers, provided culturally respectable initiation to adolescent boys. Foucault generalizes from this. Every sensible person knows very well that love relations with a boy are not absolutely either honorable or shameful, but for the most part vary according to the persons concerned. I guess I'm not a sensible person. What would happen if I was gay? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The pillars of my existence would be the same. I would still respect my parents. I would still work unselfishly. I would still love order and beauty. And I would still want to belong to a community. Except I wouldn't fall in love with that girl. Would I make a huge effort to blend in, or would I be proudly different, like Jean Girard?
So Jean introduced me to your new teammates.
Everybody, this is my husband, Gregory.
See what's a track.
Now, by the way, Jean Girard, he's a likable character because he has integrity and principles. Randy and Mr. Leahy are two consenting adults, and whatever they do in the privacy of their trailer, it's fine. However, there is a little thing called the law. Grooming, exploiting, and violating kids is not okay, even if they are poor Tunisian boys and the pederast is a French star professor. Foucault's truth is not necessarily the truth. The Kama Sutra and Foucault's History of Sexuality present two very different visions, orthodoxy and, let's say, heterodoxy. It is useful for us to contemplate these two extremes as we try our best to make intelligent decisions about our lives.